A reading from the book of Deuteronomy. Moses spoke to the people, saying, "The priest shall receive the basket from you, and shall set it in front of the altar of the Lord your God. Then you shall declare before the Lord your God, 'My father was a wandering Aramean, who went down to Egypt with a small household, and lived there as an alien. But there he became a nation, great, strong, and numerous. When the Egyptians maltreated and oppressed us, imposing hard labor upon us, we cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and he heard our cry, and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. He brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand and outstretched arm, with terrifying power, with signs and wonders, and bringing us into this country. He gave us this land flowing with milk and honey. Therefore, I have now brought you the first fruits of the products of the soil which you, O Lord, have given me. And having set them before the Lord your God, you shall bow down in his presence." The word of the Lord.
Our first reading on this first Sunday of Lent comes from the book of Deuteronomy. And here we find, in a ritual form, a confession of faith, Israel's confession of faith. Moses tells the people that they will approach the priest with the fruits of the earth, the fruits of their labor. But in their presentation of their gifts to God through the hands of the priest, they would engage in some form of memory, reviving of memory. They will tell the priest as they make their offering that they remember that they used to be wandering Arameans. My father was a wandering Aramean. They remember their past. They remember how their forefathers and their foremothers wandered about. They were nomadic. They were homeless. This is part of their memory. And part of the memory too is how these people settled in Egypt and how they grew in numbers in Egypt. And that growth was even an occasion for their oppression. They became a threat to the Egyptians, and they were forced into humiliating labor. This memory of homelessness, this memory of oppression culminates in the memory of how God loved them, how God saved them, how God freed them from the humiliation of slavery in Egypt. God led them out of Egypt and brought them to this land. What a confession of faith in God. They confess faith in God who has done great things for them. And so keeping the memory of their past humiliation becomes an occasion for keeping memory of the graciousness of God. And now, they are inhabiting this land. They are working the land. And the graciousness of God continues through the harvest. And so, they offer to God the fruits of the earth. This is an act of confessing their faith and gratitude to God. But you see, confession of faith based on memory of the good things that God has done to them, a subjugated people, is translated into a concrete action, an expression of gratitude through the offering of the fruits of the earth. Confession of faith leads to a concrete action, an offering of the fruits of the earth to God through the priest. My dear brothers and sisters, it is easy to confess faith on the lips, using words, but we hope, following the directive of Moses, we would translate our confession of faith in gratitude to an action of gratitude and self-offering to God and neighbor.